My name is Wyatt Doyle, and I made a name analysis on 1984 by George Orwell. So I picked three of the main characters from this book, the first one being the main character, Winston Smith. First, I researched what Winston Smith actually means, and the name Winston, which is his first name, stems from the Old English word Winstan, which means joystone. I also found that in some places Winston can mean Victory Town, and his last name Smith stems from blacksmith, the occupation of hammering metal. And Smith is actually the most common name in English-speaking areas. Now, I thought that this combination of names made perfect sense for the character of Winston Smith. His first name, Joystone or Victory Town, I thought suited the more rebellious side of his nature, because in Winston Smith's world, the entire world has been taken over by a fascist government, and he lives under their rule. And in every house there's something called a telescreen, and on this telescreen they can both look through it with video and hear through it. So there's also secret agents of the government everywhere you go. So basically there was nowhere you could really go for privacy. You couldn't even get privacy in your own home. And Winston Smith rebels against this trend of fascism, because he does little things like he slightly hides from his telescreen, sitting in a corner of the room where they can't really see and hear him. He writes in a book, writing was illegal. And I thought that suited his names of Joystone and Victory Town, because in a place where everybody has lost, there's no victory, everybody is being dominated by this greater power, he was making small victories every day. And I also found that by the end of the book, both those names became very ironic, actually. By the end of the book, he really experiences defeat and no joy whatsoever. So what happens is throughout the time of the book, he starts out with smaller and smaller transgressions, but it slowly builds up to being in love and renting out a place, which neither of which you were supposed to do. And by the end of the book, what happens is he gets caught, and he gets taken to prison, and he gets tortured, and they force him to give up everything that he had slowly accumulated through his small victory. So ultimately, it's a little ironic that his name would be Joystone in Victory Town, because he really experiences defeat and no joy whatsoever. The second character's name that I analyzed was Julia. Julia was his lover during the story, and his companion in many of his law-breaking activities. And I found that the name Julia means either youthful or Jupiter's child. And I found that the meaning youthful could be attributed to her rebelliousness and her energy, because she was a very active person, and she had relationships with many of the prominent party members and was always seeking new experiences. And I found that her name meaning Jupiter's child, really you have to look back to who Jupiter was. And Jupiter in Roman mythology was the king of the gods, and kind of represents the authority that kept the entire world in line. And it made sense to me that if Julia was the daughter of this authority, that means that Orwell, the author, was trying to say that all of her rebelliousness and her law-breaking stems from the government itself and its oppression. And that's what made her that way. So